Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We continue talking cricket as the ICC Women's T20 World Cup got on the way earlier on Thursday in the UAE with Group B action. For Bangladesh, they defeated Scotland by 16 runs in the tournament opener. Bangladesh first posted 119 for 7 of their 20 overs with a top score of 36 from Subhana Mostri. Saskia Hawley picked up 3 for 13. Well, in reply, Scotland were restricted to 103 for 7. Sarah Bryce finished unbeaten on 49 against Ritu Muni's 2 for 15. Well, over in Group A, Pakistan registered a comfortable 31-run win over Sri Lanka. The Pakistanis first made 116 all out. For the captain, Fatima Sana top scored with 30 against Chamari Atapatu's 3 for 18. In reply, Sri Lanka could only manage 85 for 9 of their 20 overs. Now 2016 champions, the West Indies, they'll start their campaign on Friday against South Africa. The Caribbean women lost both their official warm-up matches ahead of the tournament, first to India and then Australia. Well, despite those losses, head coach Shane Dietz remains optimistic.
We want to be playing good cricket, and we are playing good cricket, just not for long enough. So once we get that longer, we have a chance to scare a few teams at this World Cup. Everyone's in good spirits, and we're showing that we're a dangerous team, and we're just got to be dangerous for longer. But the girls are backing themselves, and we're really, really working hard. And we've got a couple of days prep now to take on South Africa, and everyone's really looking forward to that opportunity and to get a good start to this World Cup and take each game as it comes after that.
Coach also spoke about the readiness of Stefanie Taylor and the returning Deandra Doughton.
We're coming back, from small little niggles which they picked up, which is unfortunate, but that's cricket. That's going to happen to every World Cup. We're going to have Plan B, Plan C ready to go, and we've got a few more days training to get those girls right to go. So, ideally we have a couple of the best players in the world that you mentioned there, and we all want the best players in the world playing. But if not, we've got to have other girls ready to step up to take the load off them and take that responsibility, and that's what we're trying to do, create that depth.
Meanwhile, Captain Hayley Matthews spoke about Kiana Joseph's good showing against Australia and the importance of other players stepping up.
She was playing were great to watch, and I guess just great to admire and see from the other end. And I think as many of the other players that we can have just performing and playing roles like that throughout the tournament is going to be a big positive when we all come together and have our full 11 out on the park. I think realistically just pull it all together. We've been really good in certain parts of the game and probably just letting ourselves down in little areas, but once again, missing so many players out to the starting 11 and crucial players at that. So hopefully once we have everyone back together, things will come together really well and we can get it all right by the time the tournament starts.
Well, Nikhil Uttamchandani is still with us despite Ricardo dismissing him. Nikhil, are you there?
I'm still here, Mary. I'm still here.
All right, good that you stayed with us and didn't listen to Ricardo. So let's talk about the Windies women now. They lost their 2 warm-up matches. That had me a bit scared. Spoke to my sister and she said, don't be worried. It was just a warm-up, We're getting ready for the big competition. And she reminded me that, some of the ladies did not take part. Chanel Henry, one of the matches, she didn't play. Then we didn't see Steph like we usually do. So the ladies are confident. But how do you feel?
Well, all I'll say is that, they better be ready, because for me, the way I look at the way this group has gone, and it will go, I look at England as being probably the favourite to finish top of the group. They've played some exceptional cricket in the last 2 years. And I think this is probably a quarter-final. And it's a tough way to start your tournament as well. You would have loved to start maybe against a weakened Scotland, who is in their first World Cup, or a Bangladesh, who we saw win today. They can't be taken lightly. But for these two teams to battle straight away, it's a mouth-watering affair, because really and truly, I put it down to the winner of this game joining England as the top 2 to go through to the next round. So the West Indies are going to have to be ready. I think it's not ideal that, as you said, they didn't have their full complement of players in those 2 warm-up games. But I did see a lot of positives there that they should be optimistic about. The fact that they've had, I think, 2 other batters in both games other than Hayley Matthews getting runs against quality oppositions, quality bowling attacks, might be the 2 best bowling attacks in the world. You heard Kiana Joseph's mentioned there when she got the 32, but I'll really pinpoint Chanel Henry's 59 from 48 deliveries against India. This is the Chanel Henry that I've been looking for years because she's capable with bat in hand. She does it for Jamaica. If we can get more players taking some of the load off of a Hayley Matthews, I think it helps the West Indies cause in a massive way. But they have to win tomorrow for me to have the best chance of qualifying for those semi-finals.
Yeah, and from the two opening matches that took place today, of course, Bangladesh won their match against Scotland, and then we had Pakistan beating Sri Lanka. Two things really stood out for me, Nikhil. One, that spin is king. I saw that today because the spinners were very, very dangerous. So much so it got me a bit happy because I'm like, all right, our spinners get the opportunity to really step up come tomorrow. And another thing that jumped out at me were the low scoring, the totals were very, very low. And I'm here thinking, how can that in any way, Nikhil, benefit us? What say you?
Listen, in terms of the spin, I think it does benefit the West Indies when you look at the way that bowling lineup has been constructed now with the spin of Zeta James, the finger spin of Hayley Matthews, who obviously continues to do well. And then you've got Ramarat and you have leg spin of Afi Fletcher. There's so many spin options there. I think it is a better suited lineup for a surface like you have here in the UAE. What I would like to see is maybe a Deandra Dottin pick up the ball. I don't know what's the status of her injury and if she actually can bowl, because I'm thinking about her changes of pace on a surface that you will get in Dubai or maybe a Sharjah like we had today. And I think it can be quite useful. So I don't know if she's able to bowl, but I hope her maybe a couple overs of pace can help complement the formidable spin attack that the West Indies are building. What I would say about the batting, it's going to be a grind. And you saw the big boundaries today, limited number of sixes. You even saw with Pakistan and Sri Lanka how much impetus was put on the running between the wickets. I think for the West Indies, who have been a boundary-hitting team, you think about the 2016 World Cup when they won, and that was their sort of blueprint and formula. It's so funny because it's almost the same thing in the men's game as well. I want to see if the West Indies can adapt and try to get more strike rotation. It was a big problem in the women's CPL. Have we been able to learn from that and be able to find ways and the skill of being able to rotate strike on tough surfaces that will be hard to find the boundary on slowish nature surfaces and also bigger boundaries?
Yeah, I generally don't worry too much about the West Indies women's bowling attack, Nikhil. Maybe the fielding, yes, because I think that has been an area of concern for me, especially the catching. But the batting for me is usually the biggest area of concern. In terms of names, this time around, the players are there. You have Hayley Matthews, you have Stefani Taylor, Chanel Henry, as you pointed out, got that 59 in warm-up. Deandra Dottin is back. The big question for me, though, is how do you order them for this tournament to get the best possible outcome?
Ricardo, to be honest, I think, personal opinion, Deandra Dottin has to bat at 3. I've noticed in both warm-up games they've had Shemaine Campbell at 3, and I know that she's adopted this position, and they maybe feel, her ability against spin and needing the power play maybe a bit more than someone like a Dottin. But when I look and think back to when Dottin has been at her best, 1 T20 International 100 and 5 50s at number 3. You want your best players facing the most deliveries. And I'm thinking about a perfect scenario where Hayley Matthews is in, Deandra Dottin gets going, and the West Indies maximise on that power play. It sets up the game for Henry, for Taylor, and those to come. So I'm really curious to see if they back her at 3. I do like Chanel Henry adopting that position at 5. I think she's done enough and shown enough. And then maybe you have a Stefani Taylor either batting at 6 after that top 5. Or maybe a bit early if you want to have her at 4. But yeah, I think the West Indies have enough power with Nation and with a Stefani Taylor and with Dottin, but they need a good start. They have to maximise the power play in these conditions, and it may mean getting Dottin in at 3.
Yeah, interesting that you pointed out, and interesting that you say Stefani Taylor at number 6, because in the back of my mind, Nikhil, I'm thinking Stefani Taylor should open with Hayley Matthews. And I say that Hayley Matthews is the one who clearly has the power to take on bowlers. And I think whenever she's there with Stefani, there is a greater level of freedom, and especially with Deandra Dottin in the setup. But Stefani is also that player who has the ability, both the technical ability and the temperament, to bat the entire 20 overs or as close to it as possible. So from my standpoint, I would really like to see her in the T20 game open with Hayley Matthews. I probably in that case would have Deandra Dottin at 4, but I really do think it could help the team to have Stefani right from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's a fair point. Again, you want to maximize the power play, and you have two of your better batters at the top of the innings. I think probably they'll worry about their depth in the middle if they are to lose quick wickets, which is why I could see her being retained at maybe a middle order position. And also, the way Kiana Joseph and Matthews batted together in the women's CPL, then in the couple of warm-up games as well. And to be fair to Joseph, the 30 she had against Australia, it was in 29 deliveries, the 32 she had. It was quite impressive to see the way she was able to find the boundary. So I'm open to them backing her and her being given the opportunity. Because of her boundary scoring nature, I don't mind seeing her back in the power play, but it is a viable option as well if they do want to allow Taylor to make use of that first 6 overs.
Yeah, what I will say and agree with you with is that I think Matthews, Dutton and Stefani Taylor, as far as I'm concerned, must all bat in the top 4. However you order them, but I think they have to end up in the top 4 because it's a 20-over game and you have to give your best batters as much opportunity as possible to face most of the deliveries. And I think that's going to be the best chance of the West Indies in this tournament. And I understand the idea, Nikhil, and this is something that I've struggled with over time. Well, actually, I have not struggled with it, but I know many coaches and pundits have struggled with it. Do you go all out at the top and then leave yourself vulnerable at the back end? But I have a lot of belief in players like Chanel Henry and Shadeen Nation that if you get into any trouble, they are good enough to, at the back end, put respectability to the total. But I do believe that if you're quality players, if you're world-class players cannot do it at the top, then I don't know who you expect to do it at the top. And so I think you have to give them the opportunity to get it done. Do you see the West Indies women winning tomorrow against South Africa? And talk to us about the strengths of this South Africa team, because they have improved significantly over time. And it's not like 8 years ago when you would have expected to roll them over. This is a top quality team.
Definitely. Runners-up at the last T20 World Cup, coming off a really good series win against Pakistan. Again, I think their biggest strength are the all-rounders, Sune Luce and Chloe Tryon, who Hayley Matthews will know quite well. Has played a lot of cricket together, you know, the two of them around the world. And also, I'm really excited to see young Naidu, 18-year-old leg spinner. I think she's added another dimension to that bowling attack. They will start as favourites with Wolvar, the form that she's been in, the South African captain, and the sort of formula they've found as a team, the confidence that they have. I think they definitely start as favourites in this game. And those three spinners, Tryon, Luce, and Naidu, if she does play, could be a big handful for the West Indies, especially if they can get Hayley Matthews early.
Yeah, well, Nikhil, hoping everything clicks for the Windies women tomorrow and that we're talking about a favourable result. This time, when I say it, you can, of course, go. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we'll talk again really soon.
All right, cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Nikhil. All right, Nikhil Uttamchandani there, of course, always on the SportsMax zone, giving us some of the best analysis. His predictions been a bit off, but that's all right. We still enjoy his analysis. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, Lance Whitaker is going to head across to Caymanas Park to bring us the very best in After Track. Stay with us.